Hello and welcome to Global Eye, a program that brings you in-depth investigations and reporting from teams across the BBC World Service. I'm Selin Girit, a senior journalist at the World Service, and this week we're in Turkey. It's now more than 7 weeks since the US and Israel launched strikes on Iran, triggering a regional conflict that Turkey has been keen to keep at arm's length. Last month, NATO air defenses intercepted ballistic missiles heading here on 4 separate occasions. Missiles reportedly fired from Iran, a claim Tehran has denied. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has warned of plots, traps and provocations designed to drag this country into the conflict. But he's also made it clear his priority is to steer Turkey away from this fire. But how long can the country walk this tightrope? And could events force its hand? Coming up on Global Eye, we'll bring you the story of the dozens of Kenyans fathered by British soldiers serving at the country's huge UK military training base. Many have grown up without knowing their father's identity. Now they're using DNA databases and fighting a legal battle in the UK courts to search for the truth.
Yeah, how can he be alive again? To just send someone to lie that he's dead. I feel disowned.
And as Israel and Iran face off against each other in the Middle East, we follow the lives of Jews in Israel whose families came originally from Iran. Caught between the land of their ancestors and the country where they live, how has the war challenged their sense of identity and belonging? I'll bring you more from Turkey in a moment, but first, Nanyuki in Kenya is home to one of Britain's largest overseas military training areas, where thousands of British troops train each year. Nearly 100 mixed-race children have been born here to Kenyan mothers, many growing up without their fathers who have since disappeared. Now, in a landmark case, UK-based scientists and lawyers are helping them find answers, analyzing their DNA and uploading it to commercial databases to identify fathers. This is the story of the human cost of Britain's military presence and the long fight for recognition and justice.
This one is my mother's, that one's for my grandfather. This one for my mom. I've grown up with my grandma, my grandpa before he died. I was raised by them because my mom died and my dad was nowhere to be found. My name is Nkirote Iwan Chaka Chaka. People call me Yvonne. All my life I've grown up knowing that my dad was dead. I think the soldiers that worked with my dad said he died working for the army. I'm like, no dad, no mom. Was I just an orphan?
It began as small individual cases. They involve men who came to Kenya as soldiers on duty to train and become battle ready. In the course of their training, they father children. The women and children who've been abandoned by their soldiers brought their issues to me. Yvonne was a very interesting case. In Yvonne's birth certificate, there was no father's name ever listed. Her grandma has little to no trace of information. I was quite certain that we would be able to find Yvonne's father.
Kevin told me that they would help me try to find my dad. So I was like, what is he saying? Doesn't he know that my dad is dead?
The only way of holding the British Army into account would be to find solicitors and barristers in the UK to be able to put up their claims in the UK. I think James was this missing piece. I could see he was really passionate about seeking justice for these women and children.
The report says, the grandmother stated to me at the end of 2009 she was informed by others that the father had passed away. I didn't believe it. I did not believe that this bloke is dead. There are certain cases that stand out for whatever reason. It's like no other case that we've ever seen as a firm. But how the hell were we going to find this guy? We had to think outside the box a little bit and get creative.
Detectives working the case for decades say cutting-edge DNA testing allowed them to make a match.
He was tracked using DNA through a genealogy website.
The site identified someone who had the same great-great-great-great-grandfather as the killer. From there, investigators built an elaborate family tree and then used a process of elimination to zero in on suspects.
A fellow lawyer had this light bulb moment.
What if we could take the tech used in the Golden State case and use it for Kenya in the family courts?
It's not DNA that I find particularly interesting. It's, I would say, looking for the evidence. It's finding solutions to problems. And this is a solution to a problem about who somebody is and where they come from.
We travel out to Kenya, armed with a suitcase full of DNA kits. On the first day, I'd met with, I think, 7 or 8 mothers, and the stories were all identical. And then day 2, another 6, 10, 12 people, and every day was the same. And then the cases started getting more and more challenging.
I'm just going to wipe it inside your cheeks.
After the first day, I remember going back to my room and thinking, how are we going to manage all of this? Because it's just so many. So we took these DNA samples in December, and it wasn't until the end of January, beginning of February, that they started to trickle through. We were completely taken aback.
We can see that we've got 16 allele in common at that marker, 14 in common, 15 in common.
Nothing like this has ever been done before, where you're engaging DNA testing on such a scale. We had no idea how many leads we'd get, and we were astounded how many good results. We had completely distant family members, we had relatively close family members, all the way up to the bullseye hit of fathers being named and identified.
So each case does have a letter. We're going case A, case B, case C sequentially. We're now up to cases Q and R today. Case A. That's Yvonne, leading proceedings.
This was a proper needle in the haystack.
When the results came back, we didn't find anything close enough to make an easy, direct relationship. But there was a distant match, yes.
So all of a sudden, this distant relative of Yvonne just pops up on Ancestry.com. So I sent her a few emails, and then nothing. Maybe a month went past, and then all of a sudden I get a call through from reception, and the lady says, "Oh, it's this relative on the phone."
I spoke to James on the phone, telling us that through my DNA, they'd found a relative in Kenya. It was a huge surprise.
She said that there was nobody in her family who had any connection whatsoever with the British Army or with Kenya or with Nanyuki, apart from 2 lads. 2 guys who were the sons of her first cousin. And that was our way into this case.
My cousin said that both her sons were in Kenya, but only one of them was in the army.
If this is right, this guy has led his daughter to believe that he's dead, when he's very much alive.
Yeah, how can he be alive again? To just send someone to lie that he's dead. I feel disowned.
So this morning, we are dealing with Yvonne's case first. That's case A.
This is our orphan, or not so orphan. So we issued this application 26th of June, and we're now the 3rd of December, and we still haven't found this bloke. So he's gone to ground, we can't find him. We've tried the best part of what, a dozen times? 10, 11 times? Her dad is still evading us, we think. now. We've had 3 different addresses for him. He seems to be moving around a lot. We've sent the bailiff round, I think about 10, 11 times now. Still can't pin him down.
So today's outcome for that case is we're going to try getting hold of his mother.
Let's get Granny in.
Get Granny and see what she'll tell us.
I feel a bit sorry summoning Granny to court.
Yeah. But
we haven't really got much
there's
other
no alternative, really.
There really isn't.
He might have a really good explanation as to why this 17-year-old girl believes that her dad is dead. Today is the 4th hearing that we've got in relation to the now 21 cases we've got in front of the judge. It might be that Yvonne's father just pops up at court today. I'll be very surprised if that happens. We're in front of the highest family court judge in the land. If you choose to ignore a high court order, then there's going to be consequences for you. And ultimately, Yvonne deserves to know who her dad is.
Out of nowhere. The last thing I'd expect was that, honestly. It was unheard of. But... I haven't had such an astounding day in court ever, I think. The man we've been chasing for months and months and months was just there opposite me, as if nothing had ever happened. I don't know whether it's guilt or shame or embarrassment or the fact we'd involved his family members or... I mean, we were applying to arrest him today. We're applying for a bench warrant.
He has agreed to a DNA test, and that will resolve it for him.
Either way.
You know, for everybody, so that one way or the other.
And now it's just the agonising wait to get the DNA results. And
It's your fundamental right to know who your family is, your identity, your heritage. And these young people are now in a situation whereby they can actually turn on a light for the first time in their lives to find out who their dads are, as is their right.
Your DNA, even when dead, still lives. It might not be through you, but through your living relatives. Your DNA will always be living. No matter how old we are, we always want to feel that we are a child to someone. We as human beings, we thirst for our heritage.
James, I've got these results for you. Would you like to have a look?
oh my God, yeah.
I think when we went to see her, we didn't have really any hope at all, did we? It's life-changing, isn't it?
I think we should tell her.
Yeah.
Hi, Yvonne, can you hear us to see us?
Hi, Yvonne.
Pretty much fine, James.
Hi.
How are you doing, Yvonne?
Good.
I wanted to call you today because we have some news for you. Yvonne, we found your dad. We didn't know what we'd get, but we were able to find him. And he's there, he's in England. I've met him, he's alive. How do you feel?
Like, I'm just shocked because I never thought he would reveal himself. After all those years. Yeah.
We can't promise you anything. He's not obliged to do anything. It's up to him and his conscience. I can ask him, I can ask your father if you'd like to meet him. Would you want me to ask that?
If you want to meet me, then I also want to meet him. I'm ready.
I was born here in Turkey, and I've been reporting on this fascinating country for more than 20 years. What I've really noticed over the last few years is how the temperature of everything, from political discourse to the economy, seems to have risen, and how people are constantly having to adapt as the ground beneath them keeps moving. East meets West here, and it's a country shaped by empires, trade routes and traditions that have long connected Europe, Asia and the Middle East. Today, Turkey is yet again at the center of global events, ringed by conflict. It's trying to withstand the gravitational pull of the latest flashpoint in neighboring Iran. After more than 2 decades in power, President Erdogan faces mounting pressures at home too, with an opposition worn down by years of legal crackdowns, yet still capable of mobilizing millions, and an economy struggling under prolonged stress.
But Mr. Erdogan has navigated turbulent waters before and maintained a firm grip on power, too firm for those who accused him of weakening Turkey's proud democratic traditions. Erdogan's main challenger, Ekrem İmamoğlu, the mayor of Istanbul and the main opposition's presidential candidate, has been held in pre-trial detention for over a year. Moments before his arrest, he recorded this statement of defiance.
Evin 16 milyon İstanbullunun konutunun kapısına yığmıştır. Yüzlerce polis yığmıştır. Büyük bir zorbalıkla karşı karşıyayız ama yılmayacağımı bilmenizi istiyorum. Hepinizi çok seviyorum. Ben kendimi milletime emanet ediyorum.
Will he remain in jail or even be banned from politics? His arrest had triggered widespread protests here and the heavy police crackdown. There have been large-scale arrests of other politicians, journalists, and civil society figures as well.
I have witnessed a growing sense of unease among opposition voters. Many feel the ballot box can no longer bring real change. At the same time, there's a deep fear of becoming the next person jailed simply for speaking out.
Zaten kanunların işlemediği bir ülke haline geldik. Bir yılda son artık dibe oturduk. Atatürk'ümüzün Cumhuriyet kurmuş olduğu Cumhuriyet gerçekten bu değil ve böyle olmamalıydı.
Many young people and professionals have chosen to leave Turkey in search of a freer life.
So, will Mr. Erdogan run again despite Turkey's constitutional ban on presidential third terms? He insists his plan to amend the constitution is not aimed at allowing him to stay on as president. If he does stand aside, who would replace him? Could his youngest son, whom many speculate is being groomed as a successor, step into the role? Again, the Erdogan family deny the speculation. Abroad, the stakes are just as high. President Erdogan has cast Turkey as an indispensable actor in global crises, keeping channels open to Moscow while anchoring Turkey firmly inside NATO and positioning Ankara as a rare bridge in the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Vicdan sahipleri olarak savaş ve soykırım cephesi karşısında barış ve insanlık cephesini ne kadar güçlendirirsek yarınlarımıza o derece güvenli bakabiliriz.
In the US-Iran war, Turkey has maintained a policy of neutrality, but what's been happening across the border has caused acute concern. In March, NATO downed ballistic missiles fired from Iran on 4 separate occasions as they entered Turkish airspace. Officials here have not confirmed the intended targets, though debris fell near a major NATO base in Incirlik in southern Turkey, used by American forces. Iran has been quick to insist it hasn't targeted Turkish territory.
Turkey and Israel also have a complicated relationship. Mr. Erdogan has called the Israeli Prime Minister a war criminal over the bombardment of Gaza, while a former Israeli Prime Minister said that Ankara could become the new Iran, suggesting it is forming an anti-Israel axis similar to Iran's alliance with Hamas and Hezbollah. In Turkey, anti-Israeli sentiment has been rising since the start of the Gaza war, and now, since the Iran conflict, tensions between these two major powers in the region feel even more acute. There's a growing sense of unease and uncertainty about what may come next. Will the ceasefire hold? Is a lasting peace possible? Or could the conflict flare up again, pulling Turkey into the fray? For now, Ankara is holding its breath. Israel is home to one of the largest Iranian Jewish communities outside Iran. For many whose families trace their roots back there, the unfolding US-Israeli conflict with Iran has been felt not only in the skies above them, but within themselves, stirring questions about identity and their connection to the country of their birth. BBC Arabic's Reda Al-Mawi spoke with members of the community about how the war has affected them, both personally and politically.
An ancient craft, the art of carpet making, where stories are woven in every thread. In Jaffa's flea market, this tradition is kept alive. Here, Jewish merchants from Iran carry their ancestors' legacy and the memory of a homeland left behind.
עד גיל 20 גדלנו שם. כל הזיכרונות, כל הזה בפרש. חיים טובים, שקטים, הכל טוב, הכל יפה. הכל היה בסדר. עד שחומייני הגיע.
Iranian Jews began arriving in Israel after the state was established in 1948. Much larger waves followed after the 1979 Islamic Revolution led by Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran. Today, Israel is home to 200,000 to 250,000 Iranians of Jewish origin.
Many Iranian Jews remain closely connected to their roots even into the second generation.
Whatever happened home really made me more shy, or I can speak about even my sandwiches. They were so smelly, like with Iranian herbs. Like kids were like, "Oh my God, what do you eat?" Okay, I eat kebab. Like it's 10 in the morning. It's like, no, this is us.
Embracing both cultures, Israeli-born artist Liraz Sharhi has been performing in Persian for Israeli and international audiences since 2004.
I was following women's protesting groups in Iran for years, for the last 20 years, who are taking their veils and dancing in the street, next to police stations, in buses, in trains, and they did it in a very joyful way.
Liraz began connecting with artists inside Iran after releasing her first album, Naz, in 2017. She later collaborated with them remotely and in secret on the song Zan Bizan, which encourages women to challenge the restrictions imposed by Iran's ruling system. Liraz believes that the current military intervention could pave the way for a better future for Iranians.
When I see Iranian and Israeli flags are waving for peace, for me it's the biggest hope that this war will end and something will happen, that it's going to be a revolution. As in, because all of those things, we have a lot of hope that this time is, I think, the last chance to break Iran and to live in peace.
Today, Israel is home to around 250,000 Iranian Jews. In this Bukharan synagogue in Jerusalem, worshippers are closely following the developments of the war.
מוסלמים של השכונה אהבו אותנו דווקא. אני זוכר בעל המכולת שאנחנו רצינו לבוא לארץ, אומר, לאן אתם הולכים? בכה. הוא אמר, אל תלכו, מה יש לכם לעשות שם?
אלה שהם טובת היתור הזה, אנחנו שמחים, למה לא? שיהרגו אותם. אבל הצד השני שהם טובת השאר, טובת המשטר השנייה, אלה באמת חבל, זה כואב קצת. למה? לא מגיע להם.
תקווה שלי שיצליחו, ובעזרת השם יהיה שלום, ואנחנו נוכל לחזור לפחות לטיול, לבקר למקומות שנולדתי, איפה למדתי, איפה העיר.
There are currently 8,000 to 10,000 Jews living in Iran, making them the largest Jewish community in the Middle East outside Israel. The government in Tehran officially recognizes the Jewish community and deserves a permanent seat for them in the parliament. The MP who holds that seat has a very different stance on the war than that of the Iranian Jews we met here.
The representative of the Jewish community in the Iranian parliament, Humayun Sameh, issued a statement mourning the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in which he said, "This brutal act of the American Zionist enemy once again has laid bare its barbaric nature more starkly than ever before." Radio Ran is a Persian language station broadcasting online and via satellite from Israel. Its founder, Rani Amirani, says many listeners tune in discreetly from inside Iran and contact him in secret. I asked him about his view on the hundreds of Iranian civilians killed in this war.
War is not a nice thing. The people killed in the war. We know that. But the war is, we have prices. You have price. You have to pay. If you want victory also, you have to pay. Also, the Iranian people want to pay. They say we want to pay for victory. We already want to be killed, but we want the victory from my sons and from my family. You heard this? I heard the people say that.
It is difficult to gauge the level of support among civilians in Iran for the idea of overthrowing the regime, especially through an American-Israeli military intervention. For Iranian Jews in Israel, this war feels deeply personal. Torn between the land of their forefathers and the one that became their home, many hope that one day the two might come together.
Here's another highlight from the World Service this week. The daily What in the World podcast analyzed the recent elections in Hungary that saw Viktor Orban's 16 years in power come to an end, with huge implications for Europe and the world. Hungary has been a thorn in the side of the EU and Ukraine for many years, keeping a close relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin despite EU sanctions on Russia. Orban has also found favor with the Trump administration that earned him an endorsement and visit in person from Vice President J.D. Vance before the election. The new leader, Peter Magyar, has pledged to follow a very different path, distancing himself from Russia and speaking out against corruption in Hungary. You can catch the full episode on BBC Sounds and the BBC World Service YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for joining me in Turkey. Global Eye is taking a break, but we'll be back with you for a new series in July. So please do join us then. Goodbye.